What would actually happen to your body if you gave up sugar completely for the next 14 days? Not cut back, not moderate, completely gone. I'm going to walk you through exactly what changes, in what order, and why. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this is one of the highest leverage changes a man over 50 can make. Before I go further, if you want the day-by-day version of this protocol, the one I personally use to help men track exactly what's happening in their body during the first 14 days, comment sugar below right now and I'll send it to you. I'll remind you again later, but get it locked in now so you don't forget. Here's the timeline of what's coming. In the first few days, your cravings shift. By the end of week 1, your face changes shape. By day 14, your blood work can shift in ways your doctor will notice at your next visit. Stick with me through all of it because the changes compound, and the last one I'm going to show you is the one most men have never heard connected to sugar at all. The average American man consumes 19 teaspoons of added sugar every single day. The American Heart Association's recommended limit for men is 9 teaspoons. That means the average man over 50 is consuming more than double the upper limit, every single day for decades, without ever seeing it on a label as one number. That sugar isn't just hiding in dessert, it's in the bread, the pasta sauce, the salad dressing, the coffee creamer, foods most men over 50 would never think to count. Day 1 of cutting that out, your body still has glucose stored as glycogen in your liver and muscles. Every gram of stored glycogen holds on to roughly 3 grams of water. So in the first 3 to 5 days, you'll lose water weight, often 10 to 13 pounds, and it has nothing to do with fat loss yet. That's your body releasing the fluid it was using to store sugar. Once that glycogen is depleted, your liver is forced to start releasing stored fat instead, because sugar and fat are the only 2 fuel sources your body runs on. And given the choice, your body always burns sugar first. Take the sugar away and the fat has nowhere left to hide. Days 3 through 5 are when cravings peak and then break. This is the hardest stretch, and I want to be honest with you about it. Your body is shifting its primary fuel source from glucose to fat, and during that transition, you'll feel it. Irritability, low energy, maybe a headache. This is temporary. By day 5, the cravings drop off a cliff. Not gradually, sharply. That's the metabolic switch completing. Once your body is fat adapted, something most men don't expect happens. The hunger between meals disappears almost entirely because your body is now feeding itself from its own fat stores between meals instead of demanding more fuel every 2 hours. Now here's the science behind why that switch matters so much. A 2025 systematic review and meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Nutrition examined the relationship between dietary glycemic index and insulin resistance in adults. The finding, low glycemic index eating patterns were consistently associated with measurably decreased insulin resistance compared to high glycemic index patterns. Lower blood sugar spikes, lower insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is the metabolic dysfunction sitting underneath most of the health problems men over 50 are dealing with. Here's why that one mechanism matters so much for you specifically. Insulin doesn't just manage blood sugar. It also controls whether your body can absorb magnesium, potassium, vitamin B1, calcium, and vitamin D. When you're insulin resistant, you can be eating a perfect diet and still be deficient in all of those nutrients, because the absorption pathway itself is impaired. Fix the insulin resistance and your body starts actually using what you're already eating. By the end of week 1, the visible changes start. Inflammation drops significantly throughout your entire body. Not just where you can see it, but inside your arteries, your kidneys, your nervous system. Excess sugar in your blood literally stiffens and thickens arterial walls over time, narrowing the space blood has to travel through. When that inflammation comes down, your blood pressure often comes down with it. Men who've been managing blood pressure with medication for years sometimes find their numbers improving enough that their doctor adjusts the prescription. Cholesterol numbers start to shift as well. Sugar converts to fat and cholesterol in the liver, so when the sugar intake stops, those values often improve noticeably within the same window. Your face changes shape during week 1 too, and this surprises almost everyone the first time they notice it. Chronic sugar intake drives inflammation and fluid retention around the eyes, cheeks, and jawline. It's the same mechanism we covered in the turkey neck video, except this time the driver isn't cortisol, it's glucose. When the inflammation clears, the puffiness goes with it. You'll see it in photos before you feel it any other way. Skin often clears up during this same window too. Acne and the kind of red, irritated patches some men have lived with years, because the inflammation driving the skin issue is the same inflammation driving everything else on this list. Now let me show you the organ most men never think about when they think about sugar, your eyes. Diabetics develop a condition called diabetic retinopathy, where chronically elevated blood sugar damages the retina, the nerve tissue at the back of the eye responsible for vision. You don't have to be diabetic for this mechanism to be quietly working against you. Cut the sugar, and that pressure on the eyes starts easing immediately. Many men report noticeably less blurriness within the first couple of weeks. Your kidneys are running the same risk. Excess sugar creates inflammation that damages the small filtering structures inside the kidney, what's clinically called diabetic nephropathy when it progresses far enough. This is also frequently why men are getting up multiple times a night to urinate. Water follows sugar through your bloodstream and kidneys. Cut the sugar, and for most men, nighttime urination drops dramatically within 2 to 3 weeks. That alone can mean the difference between broken sleep and a full night's rest. There's a nerve connection here too that most men never make. The same elevated glucose that damages the retina and the kidney filters also damages nerve endings, which is why diabetic peripheral neuropathy shows up in the feet. Pull the sugar out, and that nerve healing process can begin the same way the eyes and kidneys do. By day 14, we're at the deepest mechanism, and this is the one I saved for last because it's the one underneath almost everything else we've covered: insulin resistance. Here's what's actually happening in your body. Insulin is a hormone released in response to sugar and carbohydrates. Over years of chronically high sugar intake, your cells develop a resistance to insulin's signal, similar to how you'd stop hearing a smoke alarm that never stops going off. Your pancreas compensates by producing even more insulin to push the message through. For years, this compensation works. Then the pancreas gets tired. Insulin production drops, blood sugar stays elevated. That's the path to prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. And it typically takes 10 to 20 years to develop quietly before a diagnosis ever shows up on paper. Here's what's strange when you really sit with it. Diabetes is fundamentally a disease of too much sugar in the blood. The obvious fix would be eating less sugar. But look up what mainstream guidance lists as causes. It's almost always lifestyle and genetics, with lifestyle pointing to obesity, lack of exercise, even urbanization. Dietary sugar itself is barely mentioned. Instead, you'll often still see warnings about saturated fat, a claim that's been thoroughly challenged by more recent research. While guidance to maintain high levels of grains continues, even though whole grains run roughly 85% carbohydrate. The simplest fix sits in plain sight and gets the least attention. If you've ever hit a weight plateau you couldn't break through no matter how strictly you dieted, insulin resistance is very often the reason. When insulin resistance is present, your body holds onto a defended weight set point. You can restrict calories, you can exercise harder, and your body simply will not release weight below that point until the underlying insulin resistance improves. Cutting sugar for 14 days starts reversing that resistance. And when insulin sensitivity improves, the nutrient absorption pathways I mentioned earlier come back online. Magnesium, potassium, calcium, vitamin D, and the amino acids your body needs to build and maintain muscle. Men who've had stubborn cellulite-like muscle wasting in the legs or glutes often see real changes here because the protein synthesis pathway finally has what it needs to function. This is also where fatty liver risk, cardiovascular risk, and yes, cancer risk start coming down. Insulin resistance isn't a side issue sitting next to those conditions. Mainstream research increasingly treats it as a root driver underneath all three, and the energy shift that comes with it is significant. Even a lean man is carrying roughly 100,000 stored calories of fat, compared to about 1,700 calories of stored sugar. Running your body primarily on that small sugar reserve is like trying to power a house off a single AAA battery. Once you're burning fat instead, the energy is steady all day instead of spiking and crashing. Quick reminder while we're in the deepest part of this, if you haven't already commented sugar for the day-by-day protocol, do it now. I read every comment and I'll send it to you directly. Now I want to address something directly because if you're a man over 50 thinking about doing this, you deserve the honest picture and not just the highlight reel. There's emerging research worth knowing about. A 2026 study presented at the Endocrine Society's annual meeting found that completely removing sugar from a low-fat diet in an animal model led to some negative shifts in gut microbiome balance and metabolic markers compared to a diet with moderate natural sugar intake. That's a meaningful finding, but here's the context that matters for you specifically. That study used a low-fat, low-fiber baseline diet. It says nothing about what happens when sugar is removed from a nutrient-dense animal-based way of eating, which is a fundamentally different metabolic environment. The takeaway isn't that eliminating sugar is risky. It's that the foundation you're eliminating it from matters. On Carnivore, you're not creating a fiber or nutrient gap. You're removing the one variable causing the problem in the first place. Here's the 7-day and 14-day timeline laid out simply. Days 1 through 3, water weight drops, cravings are present but manageable. Days 3 through 5, Cravings peak, then break sharply. By day 7, inflammation measurably down, blood pressure often improving, your face visibly changing in photos, nighttime urination dropping. By day 14, energy stabilizes into a steady state instead of spiking and crashing. Mental clarity and mood noticeably improve. And the insulin resistance mechanism underneath the weight plateau, the fatigue, and the nutrient deficiencies starts reversing. If you want to actually see this play out in your own blood work rather than just feeling it, get a fasting insulin and fasting glucose test before you start, then retest at day 30. That's the number that tells you definitively whether the insulin resistance mechanism is moving in your favor. One last time, comment sugar below, and I'll send you the complete 14-day protocol, including exactly what to eat, what symptoms to expect on which days, and how to read your own blood work numbers when you retest. I respond to every comment. This connects directly to almost everything we've built on this channel. The magnesium video explained why most men are deficient even when they think they're eating well. The vitamin D video explained why the official numbers were never enough. Sugar is the variable sitting underneath both of those absorption problems. Fix this one, and the others get measurably easier to fix too. 14 days, that's the entire commitment. Try it, and come back and tell me which change surprised you most. The face, the sleep, the energy, or the blood work. I'm Josh. This is Created Carnivore. Real food doesn't have an ingredient list.